There you go. Good morning. Some people were kind enough to wish me well or wonder if I would, make sure I could just, look, guys, 27 years I get up and talk to a group of people on Sunday morning. How hard can this be? It's just another pulpit, all right, though a very bully one, and it's a great privilege for me to be here to talk to you this morning, also to be the last speaker and to wrap up the presentations that we have heard for the last 3 days. Everybody who does working in the men's development arena has a way of organizing his material in a way that makes sense to himself and we hope appeals to his audience. Ryan says we need to protect, provide, and preside. John Eldredge says we need a battle to fight, an adventure to live, and a woman to rescue. Robert Moore gives us the 4 principal male archetypes of king, magician, warrior, and lover. Sean Whalen, in his recent book, How to Make Shit Happen, talks about the core 4, power, passion, purpose, and production. And Bedros Keuilian, in his Modern Day Night program, has, and this is typical for Bedros, the 4 F-bombs. Faith, family, fitness, and finances. So we have something. And me, being the very nice, overeducated Orthodox archpriest, prefers to talk about virtue. And so when I'm not being so nice, I prefer to say I help men get their balls back, their minds back, their hearts back, and their lives and their relationships back. So we're going to take a little stab at an introduction to help you all do the same thing here this morning. And I will begin, this will be a G-rated talk, so I'll just go back to virtues. So I'll begin with the 4 natural virtues, which we know are courage, prudence, moderation, and justice. The virtues, of course, have their roots in Greco-Roman antiquity. They figure prominently in Stoic thought, so if you've read your Marcus Aurelius, yes, you've all read your Marcus Aurelius, your Epictetus, your Cicero, or Ryan Holiday, then you know something about these virtues. What might surprise you is that the whole idea of the 4 classical virtues was taken up completely and entirely in the Christian tradition. And we find them all over the place, both in the Latin West and in the Greek East. So for example, in 4th century Italy, St. Ambrose of Milan is the first one to call them the cardinal virtues, from cardus, Latin, which means a hinge, because they're the hinge upon which all the other virtues are built. And St. Peter of Damascus, for example, in the 11th century in Syria, says that courage, moderation, prudence, and virtue are the 4 and justice are the 4 virtues on which you build every other virtue, including faith, hope, and love. These actually come before Christian virtues of faith, hope, and love. And this last point is really important because, you see, it's very hard for us to be good men if we are not good at being men in the first place. And this is a point you'll recognize from Jack Donovan, of course. Being a good man and being good at being a man are 2 very different things, and we need to be men before we can be good men. Otherwise, we end up with a bunch of nice guys and wussies, and God knows we have enough of those. So I propose that the 4 classic virtues are the foundation for what it means to be a man. Am I speaking English? Y'all still with me? Yes. All right, good enough. And the place I really want to start with is courage. By the way, the Greek word for courage is andreia, which literally means manliness. Andreia comes from a combined form of anir, which means male, a man. So courage in Greek is simply manliness. And it actually appears in only one place in the New Testament. I give you the reference, 1 Corinthians 16:13 there, where St. Paul says, be watchful, stand firm in the faith, andrizeste. Be courageous and be strong. So be courageous, andrizeste, can also be translated as be manly, play the man, act like a man, or as we like to say nowadays, man up, which is why the title of my talk is Courage, or How to Man Up.
Mike, can I ask you to say 1 Corinthians 16, what again?
13. Did I not put that in my notes? Major failure. Okay, yes, if you do. All right, Reese is not paying attention. No, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, the handout is here just for you to, is a place for you to take notes, and I make book recommendations and all. You're not asking, what was the title of that book again? It's all here for you. Okay, for sure. Anytime. And so I think it's best for us to start with courage. And the reason that in the developmental scheme for men, courage is strongly correlated with the warrior archetype, which is the first archetype that comes online in men's development. It's the kind of attitude and energy that blossoms with puberty. That whole surge of aggression, that whole surge of sexuality, the urge towards independence that drives us to go out, and into adventure and all, and to penetrate the world, to step outside our comfort zone, to push our boundaries and to push our limits in all the ways that we never did before when we were children. And if men do not navigate this aspect of adolescence well, if there is not support and nurturing for this fledgling warrior energy and budding masculinity, it causes major problems later in life for men, as we see a lot of it in young men in their 20s and 30s. Failure to launch, lack of motivation and direction, the inability to articulate a vision or a mission in life, the inability to attract women or to maintain relationships, a nagging sense of inadequacy. This is John Eldredge's question. Do I have what it takes? Okay, that's what we were talking here. Poor sense of personal boundaries, and of course, self-medication. 15 years of smoking weed, playing video games, and jerking off to porn is not the best preparation for life. And yet, how many young men can relate, right? Can you relate? Have I described the situation well? Is this you or some young man for whom this is the case? All right. Yeah, no, just mention your own name. So a lot of men need help here. So courage is the logical place to start, not only because it's logical among the virtues, because men seem to stand most in need of developing their courage if they're going to get anywhere else in their lives. So let's define courage a little more clearly so we're sure of what it is that we're talking about. Dr. Cindy Puri, who's one of the world's leading experts in the science of courage, who knew? It was news to me. There are people who actually study this stuff nowadays. Says that courage involves three aspects. First, it has to be a voluntary act. Second, it has to be a voluntary act that is in response to a perceived threat or a risk. And third, it has to be pursued in a personally meaningful and often moral outcome or goal. So I'll say that again. A voluntary act in response to a perceived threat or risk in pursuit of a personally meaningful moral outcome or goal. Said another way, courage means that you act proactively despite risks towards something you believe is important or meaningful. It's not courage if it's not risky. It's not courage if it's not important to you. And it's not courage if you're not free to choose to do it or not to do it. Okay? So you got to have all three of those things if we're going to talk. Maybe a brief example. Someone have a brief story of where you had to step up and demonstrate some courage according to this definition. Anybody got anything? Yes, sir, please.
Yes.
There you go. Was that you?
Yeah.
You're still here?
Yeah.
Okay. God bless you, man. Thank you. Thank you. Absolutely. Okay. So we see here again, all the things are mentioned there. There's a risk. It's important, and there's a free choice on how you're going to respond. All right? That's what we need to have in place if we're going to talk about courage. Okay, so that's the setup and the background for everything that's going to follow. So what I want to do from this point on in my talk is lay out several ways that you can develop your courage or practice being courageous. And I want to talk about physical expressions of courage, psychological, social, and spiritual ones as well. We'll get into the details, the long answer directly, but the short answer on how to develop and practice courage is to lean into your fear and push your edge and stay there for as long as you can. And when you can't stay there anymore, you step back and you have a sip of coffee, all right? So that's how we do that. And for those of you who don't know, all of my best stuff is stolen. That actually comes from David Data, Way of the Superior Man, about leaning into your fear and pushing your edge, okay? First 15 chapters of that book are excellent for precisely that, because we men thrive when we're at our edge. When you can find it, when you know you're right there, pushing the very edge of where you're able to go, leaning just a little bit past that, by God, you feel alive when you're there. even just upstairs on the floor, at the jiu-jitsu, to feel that and to feel another man's strength or to feel yourself losing control, and right there at that edge. Man, and felt more alive in a long time. This is a beautiful thing. So at any rate, from this point on, feel free, ask questions, raise your hands, just blurt out if my face is in my notes and I don't see you. We'll get some good dialogue going on. If there's parts of this that really capture your imagination, you want to stay with, I'm good with that. We'll have plenty of time for the interaction going forward. Reese, please. That may be. Yeah, I mean, in the case of professionals, they're, guys who usually do sort of courageous things because that's their 9 to 5. I would think at some point early on it had to have been courageous. And now that's just how they operate. Yeah, what for you or me would be, terrifying.
And then it turns into habit at that point.
It turns into habit. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, thanks, I appreciate that. Okay, so we'll be real interactive. If we get some crosstalk and all going on, I don't necessarily have all the answers. I like to think I do, but y'all got some wisdom too. So we'll see what kind of dialogue we can get going forward here. Okay, so first I want to talk about physical aspects of courage. Physical aspects involve physicality, strength, and getting comfortable in your own skin if you're not already. Johnny's talk a couple of days ago was a perfect example of that. Okay. Physicality is the presence that men carry, and it is exactly as it sounds. It is physical. This physical confidence that comes from being healthy, fit, and strong. It is the poise that comes with mastering your own body. It went by real quick yesterday, but Jay, when he was making a comment up here, made reference to command presence that they teach you in the police force. That's this physicality. Everybody knows what this looks like. And in its highest form, it manifests as the hero archetype. And you want to think of any Marvel comic book hero, male hero, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, okay? Size and strength look really good on a man. I learned this at a late age, but I did learn it, okay? And besides, big, strong men are generally more useful. We're harder to kill, and people don't fuck with the big guys. Unless you're really drunk or high, okay? So, in which case all bets are off. But that's kind of it. And so there's genuine advantages in getting big and strong. It also makes protecting, providing, and presiding a hell of a lot easier, okay? If we have the physical presence to back it up. Am I right? Yeah. Okay. So would you like just a little taste of that right now? Yes. Okay, do something for me. Sit at the front edge of your chair. Just, I know you're leaning back. Just sit at the front edge of your chair. Okay. Front edge of your chair. Now, put your shoulder blades in your back pockets. Put your shoulder blades in your back pockets. This is good posture. And our posture affects our mind and our souls. You feel a little better? Man, this room, the testosterone haze in this room just went up. Now, if you're at a table, stay there, keep your posture up. Now, if you're at a table, where do you put your hands? Okay, on your thighs, you can. But if you're at a table, where would you put your hands at the table? Where the other guy can't see them. Okay, that's a good. Or can see them if you don't want to be threatening. Over your knees. You put your hands, so if you're sitting at a table, if you're at a business meeting or something like that, take up space. Man spread, guys. It's okay. Don't be ashamed of that. And your hands go over where your knees are. And you take up space. Sitting like this looks small and weak and withdrawn. We don't want to do that. Put your shoulder blades in your back pockets. You'll stand up straight. The chest comes up. You can breathe easier. You can relax into this. And you feel a hell of a lot stronger. And you take up all of that space that's there. All right? Small things you can do in order to do this. And you ever feel, when you're maybe you're not feeling so good or something, just do that and and it helps. So there you are. There's just a little bit of something that you can taste. Just a little physical thing you can do when maybe you're, what's that? Yeah, well, some of us are. Some can't look small if they want to. Yeah. All righty. Bedros, Bedros Keuilian says that physical fitness is the gateway drug to men's self-improvement. So if we in the Iron Council can get you to work out, we can get you to be virtuous, and we can get you started on being courageous. It'll also be the basis on which you can build the rest of your self-development journey. So, okay, so if you're not getting vigorous exercise, start. Pump iron. I know, and or start a martial art. I am biased towards pumping iron, of course. That's fine. There are a number of lessons you learn from the iron that you do not learn in any other way. You know, Henry Rollins' The Iron, if you've not looked up that little essay, is a stupendous essay. Henry Rollins, I forgot to put that one down for you. Henry Rollins' The Iron, a beautiful essay on it, where he ends in saying, you know, at the end of the day, 200 pounds is still 200 pounds, you know, and you can't muck around with that. Very strong case is made for martial arts, especially those arts that require some kind of sparring, because if you can learn to give a blow, if you can learn to take a blow to your face and realize that you can still stand up and you can still function and carry on, that's a stupendously important lesson. Who was it? Who was it that, I don't remember the quotation exactly. Who was it that said, everybody's got a plan until he gets punched in the nose? Mike Tyson. All right, there it is. Yeah, we've all got a plan until that happens.
By me.
And then it's by you. Yes, sir.
No, Mike Tyson said it about himself.
Oh, he said it by himself.
He says, like, until I punch him in the face.
Okay, look, if anybody punches me in the face, I'm kind of done for, you know, because at that point, you know, you've lost it. Yeah, forgive me, yes, sir. That's beautiful, yeah, but now you know. And so once you've been through it, you know, okay, I don't have to collapse. Didn't happen here. Yeah. Okay. Okay, there you are. So, guys, if you're not making time every day or most days out of the week to get in some regular physical exercise, you need to do that. Probably preaching to the choir on that. Part of being physically strong and healthy is taking care of your diet. Sorry, Cheez-Its and energy drinks will not get you big and strong, and it's not the way to optimal health. So pay attention to your diet. When was the last time you saw your doctor and had a complete physical? Just to make sure everything is working the way that it should. It's a simple thing. I know guys hate going there. And if you're of a certain age, yeah, that prostate exam. Yeah, in certain cultures, you're married, I'm sure, after that. But, you know, take care of your health, guys. Then, yeah.
Specializes in men's health.
Yeah, either you need to push back with an answer. You took all this blood. I want a copy of my lab work, so you have it. Show me a copy of the reports. And if your doctor is not communicating well with you, go get another doctor. All right, and if you have particular issues with men's health issues, get a specialist in men's health too. All right, thank you. So, and also, here's, I think I left this just as a bonus point here, I think, for you. If you're involved in some sort of physical transformation, if you're looking to lose weight, if you're looking to put on some muscle, I encourage you, if you haven't done it already, take a before picture. A before picture. I'm going to let that one go. Maybe you didn't think about it at the very beginning, but take it now, okay? Because I know the before pictures are really embarrassing, but a couple of weeks from now, a month from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, you're going to look back and see what that was, and you're going to see the change. I keep one on my phone from when I was, 23% body fat, 39-inch waist, typical pasty white middle-aged dad bod, to when I was 5.5% winning a contest on stage. And the difference is absolutely phenomenally striking. And people say, that was you? Yeah, and it took me about 1.5 years to do it, but I did it. And it's a beautiful thing. So you will hate it. Now, nobody else has to see it. That's the thing. But you will have it. And it's important to do. So you will see the difference. It's one of the most positive incentives you can have on a physical transformation journey. Okay? So I want you all to keep that in mind. There you go. All right. So there's some of the physical things you can do to develop your courage. What are some of the psychological aspects? 2 days ago, Lex started us off talking about mindset and strategies. And I think learning to establish and maintain some good boundaries is fundamental here. What are boundaries? Defending your personal space, be that your physical space, your mental or psychological well-being, not letting other people run roughshod over you, invade your space, or overwhelm you with drama, okay? And it's very easy, to do stuff like this or to illustrate it. Yeah, Luke, would you just stand too close? We kind of know what that... All right, you see it immediately. You see it. This is way too close. And then what happens when someone does this? With just a second. Okay, so, but you see, this is typically what we do. And we do this unconsciously, right? Somebody comes up to us, I get it sometimes. People are really enthused to meet the swole father, and they get right up in my face, because they're just real happy and they're pumping my hand and all. I say, okay, I'm sorry, I can't focus on you. I need you to step back so I can see you. All right, thank you. You see what I did? Did I move him? No, but I moved myself to where it's a comfortable distance. All right, go ahead and back up and then thank you, and then okay, come at me again. This time, no. Okay, thank you. That was the last thing. Someone comes at you a little more aggressively. What do? Where did we see this gesture? Up there on the 3rd floor when we were with Kip, right? Except we were down on the ground with our tail between our legs trying to get our feet under ourselves, right? Defending boundaries is a very mild, gentle application of jujitsu. But it's about boundaries and protection and keeping people at a safe distance. And learning about your own boundaries and that your boundaries are worthy of respect is fundamental to courage. All right? This is important and you need to do that. Footnote. When Dylan was talking about budgets in the financial talk, what is a budget? It is a boundary on your spending. So boundaries applies. There's all kinds of boundaries that we can have in life, all right? Being able to say no is a real important boundary. You don't want to do something, say no, and no is a complete sentence, brothers. You don't have to explain why. You don't have to go into all your reasoning. No, period, is all you need to say. You don't have to hem and haw. And I give you a nice acronym there. Don't DEAR. Defend, explain, excuse, or rationalize. We guys are full of that shit. You don't have to do that. Most people don't need it or don't want it. You're doing it to feel good about yourself. Just learn to say no. Leave it at that. I gave you the reference to the good book on boundaries. Cloud and Townsend, they're a couple of Christians. The book is lightly Christian, but not obnoxiously evangelical like some of them can be. But it's really one of the fundamental texts on learning about boundaries and what they are, and how to defend them and all. Okay?
I have a question about this.
Yes, sir.
So I understand saying
No.
Okay. Well, then I would ask, are you responding or are you reacting?
Probably.
You're just reacting. Somebody wants my time. I ain't got time for that. No. And then when you calm down, you say, okay, wait, yeah, I probably could do that. Let me rethink this. All right?
Maybe to defend.
If you have to reinforce those boundaries, because
Yes.
it's across the initiative.
Yes, and this is where something like Cloud and Townsend's book on boundaries is helpful because they go through examples and instances and how to deal with that. Also, a little later on assertiveness, there's a book by Smith called When I Say No, I Feel Guilty is the name of the book. It's also very good for verbal exchanges. It's numerous examples of verbal interactions where he shows you and gives you exercises on how simply to respond to people in ways that affirm your own boundaries, and you may not get what you want, but you're not going to fold either. Yes, sir. Yeah, there you are. Okay, let's go ahead and move on a little bit here. Part of establishing and maintaining good boundaries is recognizing other people's boundaries so that we're not violating theirs. Here is where common courtesy, deference, and dare I say it, chivalry actually come into play. Do you know that it's actually why all the old-fashioned things like saying please and thank you and holding doors for other people and yes sir and no ma'am and all of that. We're actually there to establish, I hate the phrase, social distance between people, because too much closeness and familiarity and lack of structure causes friction in social interaction. Courtesy reduces friction by acknowledging other people's boundaries and by withdrawing ourselves just a little bit in deference to other people to give them the space to be themselves. And when we don't impose ourselves on other people, that shows immense respect. So don't discount common courtesy and, being a gentleman, all right? So something that goes hand in hand with establishing and maintaining good boundaries is assertiveness. Boundaries are a kind of defense. Assertiveness is offense. And assertiveness is not a personality type, it is simply a means of communication. It's a style of communicating. It means standing up for yourself and for your own rights and expressing your thoughts, your feelings, and your beliefs in a direct, honest, and appropriate way. And it is very important to note that when we're being assertive, we always respect the thoughts, the rights, the feelings of the person we're interacting with. Okay?
What do you mean by not a personality type?
I mean, it's simply a way of interacting with people. It's a skill that you can learn rather than someone who you are, all right? Lack of assertiveness is a huge problem for men. If you don't know how to be assertive and you come to a stressful situation or some kind of conflict, men are either going to fold or they're going to escalate all out of proportion. Okay? Yep, you know that. Yeah, we've all done that and been there, okay? So, Dr. Glover's No More Mr. Nice Guy is in fact a gentle introduction to several aspects of assertiveness. For my mind, it is the foundational book for all men's work, so go and read it again. And then read it again.
And again.
And again. Yeah, I'm on about 9th or 10th time through. Other good resources on assertiveness, the Assertiveness Workbook, and again, Smith's. When I say no, I feel guilty. So if we can get a good understanding of boundaries and assertiveness, I think about half of men's problems would probably go away. And it's definitely the first 2 months of therapy. So if you can get that, you can save yourself that much money too. Another aspect of courage is integrity, keeping your word, especially with yourself and especially at the beginning of any kind of program. You will not be a high achiever, as Alan tells us, if you don't have integrity with yourself. If you told yourself you're going to get up at 5 a.m., don't you dare sleep in. You made a promise to yourself. You need to keep it, because if you start breaking promises with yourself, you show yourself in your heart that you are not trustworthy, you cannot be relied upon, you are not a man of your word, and you are not a man of honor and integrity. If you're not capable of keeping promises to yourself, men don't make them in the first place. Just don't go there. It's better not to have them than to have them and to muck them up every time you turn around. Okay? If you want to be a man of courage, you got to be a man of integrity. Another point, something we already do well in the Aaron Council, find and establish some healthy relationships with other men. Not only those of us who are older, who can serve as coaches, advisors, and mentors, but also with other men your own age. In person is better. Online is second best, but if that's all you got, then do online. But get into some healthy relationships. Because there is truth in the assertion, and it's been made several times, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you want to surround yourself with good, uplifting, and positive men who have their shit together, and they're going somewhere in life, and they have integrity, and they live with standards, because if you hang around with people like that, you're only going to improve. Right? And so, and also, if boundaries are defense, and assertiveness is offense, surrounding yourself with a bunch of high-quality, high-achieving men is going to pull you into greater achievement where maybe you couldn't push yourself. So they're going to help to lift you up in ways that you're not going to be able to do it yourself. All right? I discovered this myself. Last December, when I was down in Cancun, I hung with some very powerful, very successful men. It was the first time I spent with men of that caliber. We were 3 days together for this conference, and I was blown away. I had no idea myself of what I was capable of until I got into a room with really high achievers and saw what they were doing. Guys, I had Bedros Killian on my left side. I had Matt Beaudreau here. I had Jack Donovan across the table from me. Ryan was at the head of the table. Ray Kashkar, that psychopath, was down at that end of the table. Here's John Lovell of Warrior Poet Society. Steve Mansfield. Tanner Guzzi was there. Will Spencer of The Renaissance of Man. If you don't know his podcast, you need to know it. Craig Ballantyne showed up unannounced and gave a business seminar while we were there. You know, and I saw how these men thought. I saw how they interacted. I saw the questions that they asked each other. In Bedros' cases, he kept a notebook and would write down notes, and he left it open so we'd get up for breaks. What? He doesn't take many notes. What does he write down, and why the hell does he write that down? Tell you what. I said to myself, wow, I really need to up my game. No, actually, I said, holy shit, what have I done with my life? They're no better or no different than me. They're no older than me. But by God, they did more with their lives than I have done with mine. And just from being in a room with them, I knew I could up my game. You can up your game too. There is nothing holding you back, your mind here. Like Lex says, you got your power, don't give it away to anybody else, and don't lay that down. You got this. Yes, sir.
How do you beat the mindset that it's too late?
How do I beat the mindset that it's too late? Brother, I started bodybuilding at 53. When I was 8 years old, I saw comic book, this will date me. Charles Atlas ad in the back of comic books, you know, the little sequence, kick sand in the, you know, in the face. That, I wanted to look like that. And I was scared. I was the fat kid with no coordination. I was intimidated by people who looked like Johnny. It was hard for me to be in proximity to them. And I didn't do anything. And I tell you what, when the pain of regret gets stronger than the pain of not acting, you will act. And this is a footnote. This is one of the reasons why I'm standing here today, is because I live with a huge amount of regret over decades of my life wasted because I was afraid to act. And I couldn't bring myself to do it. And someday I'm going to have to stand in front of my Lord and explain why I did not develop the talent that I buried in the ground. Some cases for 30 or 40 fucking years. And I don't have a lot of time to make that up. And that's the fire that's under my ass right now. Okay? Maybe it helps you. Thank you. Forgive me.
To that note also, when was the best time to plant a tree?
Yeah.
In the past. When's the second best time? Right now.
Right now. Yeah. So, you know, I always wanted, I'm sorry, I don't mean to pick on you, but you're used to it, you know. Well, I want to look like Johnny. I want to look like Johnny all my life. I will never look like that. I look damn good for a 61-year-old, you know, but, you know, I'm not going to quite look like that. So, any rate, you work with what you got. And actually, the fact that I'm much better, I'll show you the before and after if you want to see later. Just the fact that I've done that much is so intensely gratifying. I will never look like that again. I'll tell you that. I'm never going to go back. So, at any rate, that's all that. You can up your game too. And so I suggest, here's another thing I'll suggest. May not work for everybody. This might work for you. It's called monk mode. Red pill theory talks about monk mode. This is basically where you sort of withdraw from social interactions. You quit dating if you're in the dating scene. You drop a bunch of toxic relationships. You basically drop like a stone in deep water for a month, 3 months, 6 months, and you work intensely on yourself so that when you reemerge and reengage with the world, you are a different man than before. It's intense self-development work. You can do a lot of stuff with that. Sometimes you don't need to go fully monk mode. You know, just withdraw from some toxic relationships or some things that aren't working for you. Yeah.
So I feel the need at this point in my life to drop into monk mode. How do I know when it's time for me to reemerge from my monkiness?
I think you'll know, because I think you'll be ready to reengage. Because you'll want You'll want to use everything that you learned. And you'll prepare yourself, because that's part of it, is to prepare yourself to re-enter the world and to re-engage with all the new skills that you've gotten.
Is it important to set a date when you go into your monk mode?
I think so. Yeah, say I'm going to, yeah, because this gives you a terminus ad quem. You know, I'm going to do this for 3 months, so I need to get my ass in gear so that I can get all of this stuff done in the time I've set for myself. Maybe make it a soft deadline, but like at least 3 months. If you need another week, take another week. Finish what you're doing. But no, and here I am not talking about loneliness. I'm not talking about isolation here. You know, if some of you have, you know, some trouble socializing with other people, I'm not talking about becoming a hermit. I'm talking about solitude. Solitude which is intentionally chosen for a good end and with a purpose in mind. We're withdrawing for the purpose of re-engaging later with a new set of skills. And maybe that works, maybe it doesn't. Maybe the way you need to do it is to do what Lex told you to do 2 days ago. Find the 5 things that are important to you, and you monk mode everything else that's below that list of 5. Okay? Just saying. Yes, sir.
So not as a diagram, but just an example, like you were saying, Lex said that. What's an example that you would do to go into that mode?
For myself, there have been times when I needed to cut out some of the pastoral work that I do in order to focus on academic preparation. When I do contest prep, it's basically a part-time job. So I clear my calendar, and because, you know, twice a day cardio plus workout plus posing practice is just huge. So sometimes I do that. Religiously, Great Lent, you know, if you're Catholic or Orthodox, if your church does something like that, is an intentional withdrawal from certain things. Digital fasting. I hadn't meant to talk about digital fasting, but consider digital fast. Just turn off the damn cell phone and get off social media. Do it for a day. You'll go out of your mind. You know, but once you get over the withdrawal, do it for a few days, and you'll find you get your heart back. It's, yeah, please.
So I agree on monk mode entirely. There are times you have to pull way back for a long time. My opinion. That's typically the result of you not actually taking care of yourself on a day-to-day basis. So
There you
how
are.
often do you do it? Every day. You
There you
have
go.
to give yourself that recovery time. If you don't, you will eventually need to go deeper.
Yeah.
So when you ask the question, how long, like my mind is, and I love Brother Mike, he knows this, but
Yeah.
I'll disagree. I'll say, no, you don't need a timeline. You go until you know you change your mind, your attitude, your approach, and then you go re-engage. If you say, and the last thing, so if you say 3 months, which it may take that long, you'll make it take that long.
That's a good
right?
point.
So just bear that in mind. If you set a date, now bring it in. And it will force you, it'll up the risk, it'll up everything else, and you'll perform faster and better. That's all I wanted to add.
No,
The same
it's beautiful.
feeling that told you you need it will tell you you no longer need it. Same
Right.
thing. Where that came from, it'll tell you that you no longer need it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yes, sir.
I had a question about monk mode in the workplace. So I have a lot of social interactions
Mm-hmm.
at work. Some of them you can't cut out, like meetings
Yeah.
and stuff. But some of them are like water cooler chats or like just
Yeah.
messaging each other. So
Okay, then you shut your door, if you have a door.
I don't have a
Oh, no. Okay, yeah, go sit in your car or go in the library or go work in the boardroom. Yeah, yeah, and set the expectations. I'm sorry, I got this project. Yeah, yeah. Okay, there you go. All right, I have to push this a little bit. I'm getting near the end of time here. Social aspects. This can be brief. Ask yourself, how do I show up and add value to others? Again, back to Dylan's talks about finances. How do you show up and add value to other people? Basically, and as far as courage is concerned, we do this by protecting them, because courage is tied to warrior energy. So in the great scheme of things, this, you know, where men are to procreate, protect, provide, and preside, this is the protection part. So knowing that if you have responsibility for other people, for a wife, for children, for parents, your department at work, for your possessions, I don't know what you have responsibility for, but see that you protect and maintain those things and add value to them. With regards to spiritual aspects of courage, I could go on for a long time. That's not my role or my place here. So I'll just say, be sure you hold firm your convictions. Whatever those may happen to be sure that you have convictions that are worth defending, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asks you a reason for the hope that is in you. All right? Now, I said near the beginning that the simple answer to what courage is to push your edge, to lean into your fear, and to stay there for as long as you can. All right, to circle back, look at how many things we hear about in the men's development arena that are physical things. The cold shower, getting up at 5 in the morning, the 30 ounces of water, the daily disciplines of 75 hard, semen retention. Did you hear about that one? It's coming, but you won't be. Yeah. I'm sorry, I had to say it. But all of them are physical disciplines, and they're all soft skills that help you build character. But I think the physical things, reason there's so many of them out there that all the coaches and gurus are pushing is because they are the groundwork for everything else, for learning to be courageous, because courage requires action. That's the difference between self-confidence, which is a mental attitude, and courage is the acting out of that self-confidence, okay? So courage requires the action. You can't think or wish or hope your way into being courageous. You have to act. And doing those things we know are important, even if they're physically or emotionally uncomfortable, simply to act in ways that are consistent with your own integrity and with your own values. And if you can begin to do that in very small ways, it serves us well. I'm not suggesting you go out and slay dragons. Not yet. We build confidence in what we're doing, and we build courage by taking very small steps. We lean into our fear. We do not jump in with both feet, okay? And eventually we find that by stacking up win on top of win on top of win, that we will grow in confidence. We practice small ways to be courageous. So when the day comes that we have to be courageous in a big way, we're as prepared as we could possibly be to do that. All right, we've laid a good foundation. Someone once asked one of the Desert Fathers, "What do you do in the monastery all day?" And he said, "We fall down and get up. We fall down and get up. We fall down and we get up again." If life knocks you down, get back up. One more time. Every time. Where have we heard that before? We only fail when we quit. So that's kind of it. Maybe you're not quite ready. Maybe you're not quite ready. So let me step in to the fullness of my role here as a sovereign man, as a husband, as a father, as a priest, and learning to be a king in my own domain. Because from my perspective, it does not matter that all of you are looking at me at this time. What matters right now is that I am looking at you. And I see a whole brotherhood of sovereign men who are rising up into the fullness of what they are able to do. And John Eldredge says in his book, sometimes it almost seems like a man needs permission to be a man. If you need permission, brother, I give you permission to be a man. And sometimes men feel that they need a blessing. So if you need a blessing in order to rise into the full flower of your masculinity, by God, brother, there is your blessing. Go out and rise up and do it. And if you're sitting there, because the game is life. And if you're sitting on the sidelines in this game, wearing some other man's name and number on your shirt, you need to cut that shit out. You need to, who are you? Who are you? Put that on your shirt. Find your number. And get your ass down here on the field and in the game. Because we have to run the course that is set before us in faith. All right? And please know, if we do that, the journey is 1,000 miles. But I have discovered that with every single step, we arrive. And we can take the journey with a song on our lips and joy in our hearts, and knowing that we have each other's back, and we can do that. No, I have your back, and let's sing our way all the way through there, and I will meet you at the finish line. Mic drop. Mic is done. That's all I got. Thank you.